for who is? Okay, that's it.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Jim, it's mine.
Yes, no? Can you hear me? No?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So like I was saying, going to go through a quick intro on what is low-code, what are the Outsystems platform capabilities. Then Mike's going to take over. We will have a scenario which has a back office and a mobile application. The plan is for some of you to be able to actually build part of that mobile application during the meetup. If for the ones that don't have computer, we will have Ron going through the same process and showing on this screen, not this. But for the ones that can and have a personal environment and the IDE, let's get started and try to build that mobile application yourself. In the end, we will have an Ask Me Anything kind of session with whatever questions that you might guys have. So, questions for the ones remote. Make sense? Can you hear me well? Okay, Krishna is confirming that.
Well,
yes.
Okay, your question regarding what?
Any question regarding the format and how we are going to run this?
No.
No? Okay. So let's start with a quick round of introduction. I will ask first the folks in the room, and then we'll go to the remote one. I can start myself, and then we go to the right. Can be Ron, and then we take that side. So my name is Ron. I'm leading this team called the Solution Engineering Team at Outsystems. So I'm in the company for the last 6 years. I came from a developer background, and I went into consultancy. I was actually working as well in an industrial plant, so I wanted to taste a bit all other sides of IT. And eventually I found my place here at Outsystems in this great product. So I'm here today just really hoping to be able to discuss a bit about the platform and bring you into this world and for any questions that you might have and help you get on board with the platform. That's my main goal for today. So Ron, do you want to go next?
Sure. Well, let me.
My name is Ron Lee, and I've been with Outsystems on the solution engineering team now for 16 days. And it's been a wild ride. Before that, I was a developer for probably 16 years and also a DBA for 3 years. Finding my way into the world of low code and an easier process, an easier DevSecOps process. And I think it's gonna be a good ride for everybody who hops on board.
Great. Can you pass the mic?
Yes, hi, my name is Mark. I'm just a freelance developer as well, a frustrated one. Want to get away from all this coding, JavaScript, React. If you guys can do that, wow, I'll just tell you, you'll put my God's blessing there. So thank you.
That's pretty nice. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Varun Keshri. It's V-A-R-U-N, Varun. And I'm a software engineer by mistakes. And because I did my engineering in electronic and communication, and then I was like, let's start with the software. So I'm also a low-code, a developer with the different technology. I've been working with PAGA, P-E-G-A. It's another low-code tool, probably you all know that. I've been doing PAGA since 2009. and still working with the multiple clients. And last year, I started one small company helping other clients who's looking for the right low-code tool. So I'm here to learn more about your tool and see if I can recommend this tool to my other clients and probably use it as well. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Liz Palanasamy. I will be a senior software engineer July 5th at Outsystems. But I've been working as a software developer for about 7 years now and very excited about this career change. And yeah, today I'm just here to check everything out with Outsystems and see how this meetup goes and just be a participant and have fun.
I am Tommy Cravens. I am new to software engineering and I'm looking to learn more about Outsystems and about this space of low code and looking for opportunities and trying to just learn more as much as I can.
Hey, I'm Elliot Staley, and I've been with Outsystems for going into my 4th year, 3.5 years, 3.75 years. I actually lead a team of account executives on the Southeast region from Maryland to Florida. And I'm local to the Richmond area, so looking forward to the meetup and trying to get these sorts of events scheduled in and around our region more frequently.
Hey everyone, this is Carla. I'm the one that I know you with a lot of emails and got you involved into this. I am a student. And yes, I had the idea about extending our tool to the Richmond or RVA community. So I'm a solutions engineer and I have been with Outsystems for about 2.5 months now and really enjoying it. So Mike, last.
We'll go there. So everybody, I'm Mike Zoltek. I've been here for, it'll be 2 years in September. I'm on the solution engineering team as well. I come from a development background. I've been a BA. I've built stuff in different, like lesser known low code platforms. I've worked with all site development teams, and I just, once I found out about this tool and just realized how many places I've worked where this should have been used, it's something I love to join the team and tell everybody about. So that's my story.
Hello, my name is Sudhakar Kramaneni. I'm basically a BA developer working on Tableau, MicroStrategy, things like that. I heard terms like low code, no code, but I don't even know what they are. So I just want to know, all of a sudden it popped up on my LinkedIn. So I thought like, okay, I can go and learn from there. So that's why I'm here.
This is a great segue for my next slide, which is exactly to try to understand where everyone is. Oh, I missed the remote ones. Sorry, guys. Jim, do you want to go first? And then we move to Krishna and Emerson.
Sure. Yes, my name is Jimmy Mullick, and I work for Tata Consultancy Services as a consultant, and I've been working in QA for many years, and now looking to kind of like want to change careers, and this Outsystems caught my eye from one of the contractors at the site who's working on it right now. So I looked into it and would like to know more about it and see if this could be for me. And I've also got some programming background from my education back in college. So, but knowing this is like practically no code, this kind of intrigues me. So I'd like to know more about it. Yes.
Great. Krishna, do you want to go next?
Ajio, I'm Kanan. I'm audible.
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. I have 8 years of experience in .NET developer, and since 6 months I have started. I have worked in many. I was full stack developer in .NET, so I have done many projects on the Vue, single page application and MVC. Those kind of projects I have done. So for me, in order to change the technology, I started my career. And now I started in 6 months. I have been working on systems. So it's a great opportunity to experience with the low code.
Great. Great.
Actually, I'm from
Emerson.
India.
Yeah,
India.
yeah. Welcome, welcome. Emerson, do you want to go next? If you can hear us. If not, maybe Breno, do you want to go? No. Okay, let's move on then. So just picking up on where we left, my mouse is playing tricks on me. So let's start exactly with trying to understand what you think low code is. It's good to see where we are so that we can build on top of. So Mark, do you want to go first and just share with us what you think low code is? Do you have any sense today?
Well, I hope it's a way to use the wheel instead of reinventing the wheel.
That's a great definition.
You know, information and applying it to your application.
Yeah, it's a great definition. I like it. Rahul, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think most of the ID companies nowadays looking for a platform tool so that anybody can be a developer, especially the business folks who can get their idea into reality and work like that.
Nowadays, the low code is the best way to start converting your digital idea into the right formations. And so we just want to see how this tool does all the magic and building one particular application that can be fed to your Windows-based application and as well as your phone app, and you can just do everything from one platform without going everywhere else.
Yeah, great. Great. So you already mentioned that you don't know what low code is, so you're going to skip that part. Tell me.
I would say low code is something that uses more of a graphic interface to allow you to compile more text-based codes and data and logic into like an easier, more understandable format.
That's sense. So yeah, pretty close. Yeah, pretty close. Jim, do you want to go next? Share what do you think is low code? Or what is your perception of what is low code today? Are you there, Jim?
Oh, you're talking, oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I mean, I actually, I don't, I guess somehow by default, like, you know, on this, it came up as Jim, but actually I go by my legal name, Jimmy. Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry. No, it's okay. No worries. Okay, so what were you asking me again?
I was asking, what do you think low code is, or what is low code for you? What is your perception of what is low code?
When I would think it's like probably just pretty much probably a little bit of a little scripting, like you would do in a Visual Basic, like maybe 1 or 2 words or code, and that to apply to whatever the functionality or the module may be. That's what my understanding for low code would be. Yes, make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Krishna, do you want to take a shot?
I agree with the Jimmy, and moreover, like to increase the productivity, so like less people can work in a single project. So it is easy to understand, and it takes much time to develop application when compared to other applications.
Yeah, I think the answer is a mix of everything what was said here. So I'll try to just very quickly explain how do we see low code and how do we see low code specifically for enterprise-grade applications, which is where we typically focus a lot. So we are talking about a platform that allows you to build web and mobile applications, right? Using this visual approach that you are seeing in animation. It's an animation, but it's actually recorded using our IDE, and it allows you to go through all the steps. And one interesting thing on why low code is starting to be so important today is that you're seeing analysts saying that 65% of all application development in 2024 will include any form of low code. So it's actually good for you developers to start looking at this, because it looks like this will become the future very soon. So if we try to position low code in the realm of technology that we have available for us to develop applications, You have the high code. Everyone knows what high code is, building stuff using lines of codes. It's very complex, but it's very powerful, right? It allows you to build anything, but at the same time, it has a lot of challenges on building the complexity, on sharing with teams. Krishna mentioned that, right? Having multiple teams and people coming in and really understanding what the hell is being built there. On the other side of the spectrum, you have that limited box that allows you to drag and drop stuff, and that's it. You need to have a specific scenario to implement your stuff. You cannot bring code, right? And this is the sweet spot. It's you will automate, as Mark mentioned. Let's not reinvent the wheel every time we need to build an application, right? Let's have as much as reusability as we can. Let's bring as much as components that people already built into the mix. And for those things that are very complex, a specific UI, a specific integration, whatever it might be, let's bring down code again to the application, but leave that code managed in a platform that allows me then to do DevOps and everything inside. So that's the challenge that we are trying to solve here. So what we are seeing here is that we are doing something that already happened with a lot of industries, right? We are just applying automation to software development. And if we look at the software development lifecycle today, there's already some pieces of automation along the process, right? Where you talk about IaaS vendors, you ask for an infrastructure, you click on a button, you wait in some scenarios seconds, and you have a server or container or wherever that you need, right? You have platform as a software vendors that do the same thing, and you have platform that you can start building stuff. On the other side of the spectrum, you have DevOps vendors that also automate a lot and do a lot for you. But in the end, the thing that we spend a lot of time and that we have a lot of headaches is the actual development of an application, which if we drill down, there's a lot of mini stages that we need to have. Like this is not just a big thing of developing software. We need to plan, we need to do some design and prototypization. We need to actually develop, we need to do quality assurance, we need to deploy, manage, monitor. And what we are doing here is just shrink everything, right? Try to, in terms of time consumed and complexity, shrink everything and make us go through the whole process of planning an application, get infrastructure, develop, and get it live as fast as possible. So what kind of capabilities will we have to ensure this promise, right? The promise of building the same type of application, the same enterprise-grade application, now in a much shorter time frame with less complexity for us to manage in the future. So the Outsystems platform is this, if you see by the red border, like it's an actual platform that will support you, all the scalability, security, performance, flexible deployments that you need, with all the compliance that you need to have, all the ISO, SOC 2 compliance and all of that, and allow you to start building your application with a full stack approach. You have UI, you have logic, you have processes, you have data, everything inside, right? Using this visual approach. Then, as we mentioned, you can integrate or extend. So integration is very easy to do using REST and SOAP visually. You can actually also use the components on our marketplace, and there are more than 4,000 now. That number is already outdated, that you can use and pull into your application, and the component is there. You just configure and it's working. I'm talking about integrations with Salesforce, integration with cloud services, whatever that is more common and people already did. Like bring in a library of JavaScript to do a specific thing that everyone does and everyone wants to have, like back to Mark's point, right? You have a component, you bring it, it's working, that's it. Then it comes to extend the platform. You can bring your own .NET code, JavaScript, SQL, whatever you need to extend it. On top of that, you'll have the ability, to actually support the full life cycle. So it's not just the development phase, as we saw in the beginning, right? After you develop the application, you need to make sure that you deploy it to a different environment. When you deploy, you need to ensure that you bring all the dependencies, you bring all the configurations, and you make sure that everything is working on the target environment. And that's the challenge that we also cover here. In the end, what we want is to have developers focused on the experiences that we are building, right? And be able to provide this level of applications to our end users, whoever they are, right? And have applications that have a very rich interface, that use AI and incorporate all the state of the art of technology that we have into an application that we can put in the hands of our users, right? And that's it, in a very simple approach, that's it. Do we have any questions about what is low code, what is the platform before we jump into the build-up that I'm going to hand over to Mike? For the ones in the room, for the ones in Zoom, any question?
No questions.
No?
But just to recap, I mean, so what you showed earlier, like when integrating, you can just take any type of like from Salesforce to even like a Google Map and to integrate that into whatever the application that you're trying to develop. And it starts and it configures automatically.
Yes. If we broaden the discussion and we think about, okay, I'm not just talking about one application, I'm talking about the factory, right? I have thousands of applications and I have thousands of components. This becomes even more interesting, right? Because you have one Google Maps component that you maintain once and you use everywhere. And you have one Salesforce connected that you maintain once, and so on and so forth for all the others. And you just create dependencies between those modules and your applications, right? And that's where the full life cycle comes in, bringing in all that complexity and ensuring that I'm deploying the right version of Google Maps component, the right version of Salesforce component into production, that I know it works with the version of my application, right? That's the challenge that we are covering here.
I see.
Let's go to the fun part. Mike, I'm going to pause sharing. I'm going to bring the speaker to you. I'm going to put this in a big screen so that you can share. And the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to kind of throw us into the pool. I'm going to build a back office application that from scratch, and it'll connect to the mobile application that you'll be in the next part of the exercise. This says 10 minutes. I talk a lot and I want to kind of make it slow, so maybe closer to 15. So can't promise anything. Feel free to get up and grab pizza while I'm talking. I won't be offended. So basically, building some stuff, and then if anybody has any questions or any comments, just jump in and let me know. So we're going to create a data model. We're going to create some screens that are kind of automatically created using accelerators and then make some changes to them. And then we're going to expose the whole database of our products via API that you guys can connect to in a mobile app. So you can kind of see how you can build things on different platforms, all that good stuff. And I'm just going to jump right in. So this is our IDE. As Joel was kind of mentioning, everything is reusable. So if you have certain components in here, you can reuse them. Anything in your environment can be made public and you can share it. But we're just obviously going to start something new. We do have a free version on our website if you don't have it already, which you should because we asked you to. But if you don't, you have it, you can dive in here. So some people with laptops, you can build apps from scratch, but you can also build them from an application. We have some templated applications that you can go through. We're going to start from scratch and build a web app. You can also do mobile apps. So we're going to build a product catalog. And we're going to upload an icon that I have on my machine. And what's actually one of the cool things is it actually chooses the color theme of the application to match the icon. Create this. And you can have multiple modules per application. You can have ones that hold services, libraries, extensions, more complex stuff. We're going to keep it simple and just build a web app. Here is the IDE. It's very no worries. Yeah, very standard IDE look. You have your widgets on the left hand side, you work in the middle, navigate over here on the right, and some properties here on the bottom. Okay. So we're just going to jump in and get some data in here. Obviously you have a tab where you can control your screens, set up processes and different types of logic and integrations. We're just going to dive right into the data. So in the folder you guys were shared, we have different sort of entities that are our Excel files. So we're just going to import those. So we're going to do the shipping companies first. We'll do the product catalog scan. And then the customer as well. Now how these work is you can actually import multiple tabs. Each tab would be a table. Each column in an Excel spreadsheet would start would create you obviously a column in the database as well. On top of this, we're going to need an order table. And now this is actually creating SQL databases on the back end. So we're going to create an order table. We're also going to create a table to track line items for each order because each order is going to have multiple products. And we're going to add some columns to these. So we'll do customer ID. And shipping company ID. Order date. So a couple things happened here that I always like to kind of show people. So the tool knows that we have a customer table. So when I actually create this customer ID, it says, oh, okay, let's set this up as a customer identifier. So that way there's a relationship between this and the customer table. I don't have to do any sort of joins or set up anything crazy. Same thing happens on the shipping company ID. And also when I create an order date, the system knows I'm creating a date. You know, you can say AI, but it just sees the word date and then it just makes it a date column in the database, which when we put this on a form would actually make it a date chooser by default too. So that's another one of the cool little things that happens when you build Outsystems. So we're going to create records in here. We're going to do an order ID, and you'll see the same things happening here. Creates an order identifier, product ID.
Making sense, guys?
All right, so now we have some tables. So we're going to take these three tables that we're going to do customer order, drag them into the middle of the screen. So what this is going to do is going to create me 6 total screens. It's going to give me a list screen that's going to have like a grid, and it's going to have all the data from each of these tables, and then another screen that is going to allow me to add records or edit records on that table. Obviously, it's not going to have a ton of functionality, but I can save records right to a database. I can read records from a database. I can manipulate the data just by simply doing this. I mean, if I wasn't talking as much, you could fire this up and build something simple like this.
What you uploaded is kind of like a data table.
Yeah, it's a data table, yeah. So
Does it contain the records also?
yes, it contains all the data, and you can also do like blank ones that just have the data structure as well, and then but you can also just do a full spreadsheet. It'll import all the records as data too. So
we imported some files and created another manually, so the order line.
yeah, order and order line are
Order and order line
they have
created
nothing.
manually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. What that Excel file has, it's just on the table, where the first row is the other. You can also take data frames from like Python.
You can connect to Python via API and use that in like a data set and pull them in that way, but you can't really import it directly in from Python. Yeah. Other way you can create a screen is we have obviously just an add screen button. Yeah.
And the example you just said, where would the Python data frame before just a raw file or something? Yeah. You can import the raw file.
Yeah, or you can do it that way too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one in there. You can find it in there somewhere. Just dig around. So you can also create screens with different sort of templates. We have these pre-created templates. There's dashboards. There's all kinds of stuff. We're also going to create a product gallery, a 4-column gallery. So I'm just going to simply hit create screen. Since we have a product table already, it'll already pull the records from that. So it'll take a couple seconds here. So I'm going to rename this product gallery. And then also in our main flow here, if I open this up, you can see we have these different screens. By default, it shows customers as my home screen. I can simply right click this, make this default screen. Also in here, you can control roles. So you can say, you know, anybody with certain roles can log in, and you know, this would leave it registered for now, but you can change that on the fly. So now we have those. So first thing we're going to do is order our order list screen. So you'll get a kind of a visual of what was created. So you just have a simple table view, it has your columns here, but we're going to make some changes to this to kind of show how quick you can edit things on a form. So the first thing we're going to do, instead of having the name be the link, or we're going to create like an edit icon so we can edit this record. So we're going to simply right click on here, remove the link. Now there's no longer a link here. We're going to go into the table header up top. I'm going to add a column to the right here, and then we're going to simply add just an icon to great. So we have widgets for icons. We have a whole bunch of icons already. We'll just use something like basic, like a pencil. We'll put it in here. So another little cool like accelerator is that this is obviously just choosing black as the default color, but I can simply go into here, into the styles, and I could change the color. And it actually, since we already have a color theme, it gives me 3 choices. So I can pick this one, which is a little too green. It's very Goldilocks themed. This one's a little too dark, but this one right here is just perfect. It's the same color as everything else. And now I have that color that matches everything else in my theme. Also, I want to add a link to this now because we have no way to edit this record. So I can simply just right click here, link to, and I can pick what screen I want. So we're going to want to have this be on the order details screen. Now it's going to give me an error because when I have to get to the order detail screen, I have to pass it a parameter. So the detail screen has an input parameter. So when I go here onto the link, properties, I have to pick the order ID. So this is actually just going to pick the current row, what the order ID field is in the column, and then that clears that error. So now we want to add some more functionality to our orders detail screen. Now, right now, we just have a way to change the customer, change the shipping company, change the order date, things like that. It by default creates a 2-column view. You can, of course, change this and make different. There's all kinds of pre-made layouts. We're going to simply just delete this for now. And we want a way to take an order and either add products to it and just change what's on the actual order itself. So first thing we're going to have to do here is create a local variable to track this information here. So we can simply right click on the screen, add a local variable. We're going to call it order line. And you'll see that this is actually going to take the same data format as the order line table. So it has the same data structure and everything. So we want to have this be editable on the right hand side. So we're going to simply add a form element over here. And then we're going to take the order line data record here. I'll let this person know. So now we have another section of data on the form. Now we have an order ID on here, but we already know the order ID because it's passing in. So we don't need this. It's kind of redundant. So one of the cool things too, if you get in the platform, sometimes if you get a lot of stuff on the screen, it's hard to navigate around and see what's where. But we have a widget tree here where you can kind of see the whole HTML DOM of the page. But you can also highlight over something and get to a certain layer. So we're just going to go delete the container, which holds the label and the drop down all in one little box. So we'll delete that. So now we have product ID and quantity. So now I want to add some more functionality, like a table underneath that shows me everything in this order. So I can simply go over here, add a table, drag it below our forms. Right off the bat, a little too close to everything for my comfort. So I'm going to go over here. We can go to the styles. We can just simply add a margin. And that adds some space, so it looks a little, a little nicer. So we want to get our data from the actual order line table. So one cool thing about Outsystems is we have data aggregates, which actually take sort of like a SQL statement where it pulls data in from a database. So we're going to add a data aggregate, we're going to fetch data from our database, and we're going to pull in data from our order line table. So we'll pull that in here. And this is kind of like a visual, almost like a visual SQL tool. You can also write your own SQL queries in here too. Another lesson for another day, but for now, we're just going to use the visual tool. We're going to create a filter to only show the records of this for this specific order. So we're going to do order line, order ID equals the input parameter on the form, which is an order ID. And that's it. So now we have a data aggregate, so we can pull data from the order line table that matches the specific order we're looking at. And we're going to go back to the elements, find this, open this up, take the product ID, show that in here, take the quantity. And now we've added another table with 2 different columns, one for the product ID, which is going to give the name of the product, and the quantity. Another little kind of cool thing you can do is that, so if I'm on this form, as you can see here, it says edit and new. So this just simply knows if there's an order ID that we're editing. If there's not, we're going to create a new one. So we don't want this stuff to show up if we have an order ID already. So you can simply click on the form itself. Oops. Right click and close in an if statement. So you can write visible, like visibility sort of expressions. So if you can see here, I'll come into the widget tree. I can open this if statement and then I can simply just do if order ID is not null. Save it. And do the same thing on the table. Close an if and do the same thing here. You can also, instead of typing, also call these. Now we have a page, we have errors. Let's see what the errors are. Oh, we don't have an on-click action. So we created this button here, so it has no actions. Now the page kind of looks the way we want it to do. We want to add actions to this button. So when we click on this, things happen. So one of the cool things is before we are saving data, it actually runs a built-in form validation. This just checks for things like mandatory fields. Are they filled out? Am I trying to put junk data in a words in a date field, things like that. So it just runs a simple validation. You can have error messages, do error handling here, but we're just going to kind of move forward to the next one. So we're going to want to write this data from the order line table or into the order line table from the variable. So we're going to run a simple assign statement. We're going to double click here. We're going to use the order line. This is going to equal the order ID on the form. And then we're going to actually use one of the cool things too, when you create these database records, you get built-in CRUD operations that you can use anywhere. So we're going to simply just drag in, create an order line record in the database. And then it's going to ask the source. Actually, let me do this backwards. No, that's right. This should be this. So this is going to use the variable, the order line variable we created to write the same record structure to that order line table. And then the last thing we need to do, well, there's two more little steps. We want to refresh the data on the page on that screen. So we're just going to pick refresh this get order lines data, and then we'll do a simple message like you did it. Good. And now we can publish our application. The first publish when you do a new application will take a little bit longer. It's creating the databases behind the scenes, creating all the actual bones of the system. But after that, they're pretty quick to publish. So just wait here if anybody has any questions or anything. Yes, so we connect to pretty much all the big names. Oracle, SQL, MySQL, even IDB2. Now we do Postgres and Mongo, Azure SQL. There's a lot of different. You can set those up in the back end. You can reuse those connectors too in other applications. So we do support external database connections.
And this is Jim here. And so this is really setting up pretty much the backbone of everything before we start the design on the front end, correct?
Well, it's actually doing a little bit of both. It's building the backbone of the application you're going to build in the mobile app is going to kind of relate and tie to the same thing. So we have a product catalog here. We have our orders page now, so I can create a new order. I can pick all the shipping companies we imported, all the customers. Again, this is a date field in the database. It makes a date chooser on this. I can create a record here. I can now go in. I can be like, well, we want to add some Fitbits to this. We'll add 2 of them. It'll save the record. We can add more. We want to do another blaze. We can do 2 blazes and do that there too. And we're updating this live record in the data. We're doing it right in the database too. So in the next step, I'm going to show you can expose this data via API, and in the mobile app, you can connect to that and then use the same data from here too. You can also just share the database structure in an application and then do it that way too, but just kind of showing off a little bit the API setup.
And when it comes to like designing the mobile app, like from the scratch, like making giving it a particular background color, a design and everything, that this particular open systems also had that capability of doing it, correct?
Yes, correct. So you can do simple things like use a theme editor, which is kind of like PowerPoint, where you pick font size, font color, background colors. We can also use CSS as well.
Okay.
If I can compliment just the approach is always that one, right? If you want to do things out of the box using the visual environment, you have a way. If you want to customize more, then you need to get out the visual and get into more high code. So if you want to customize things using the visual theme customizer, you have that. If you want to get into the CSS of the platform, you can do whatever, right? You can build everything from there, right? Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. But and I want to ask this, because as far as I've never done. A long time ago, I took some training in 2008 on doing some coding for automation testing, and discovered that I have a very good logic. But however, I've not really done development and done any development except just QA. But as far as getting familiar and understanding from the backbone of how to integrate, put things together for what the application you want to design, that's not going to be too difficult to learn and from this application, correct? Or from this tool?
Yeah, so whenever it depends that if you're building something from scratch or if you're using an existing application, right? And the advantage that you have if you're looking at what Mike is doing, right?
Yeah.
Building logic here is a very easy to understand thing, right? It starts
Yes.
on a node,
Yeah.
follows it, does a query, gets data, does an assign, do a cycle, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So if you're starting from scratch, yes, it's easier to build, right? Because it's easier to drag and drop. But when it becomes really, really important, and someone mentioned that, is when you have a big team developing something and you're just jumping, like they're already building for 1 year, right? And in 1 year with this speed, you can see that you can go very far, right? Imagine yourself jumping into a high complex application and day one start building a feature. You can, but here you can't because they just needed to tell you how the architecture is made, what is the module that has the functionality or the UI that you want to build, and that's it. You can easily read it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. Yes, yeah, I'm seeing the difference. Yeah, that API you just showed me on REST, yeah, that I just recently tested on that, and it took a while for the developer to develop that, to develop it all out. Yes, on the browser.
And I was able to do it while you're asking a question. So
just a question for.
I was able to just spin something up just while you were asking a question, just to kind of show how quick you can do it.
Okay, cool.
The question for are you seeing some differences from what you used to see in Pega?
Well, it's pretty cool in terms of UI design. That's definitely very impressive. And that's one of the quick questions I want to ask. How do you handle the versioning here? Like the version control, because you design one application and then tomorrow you wanted to upgrade, you wanted to make more changes. So while you're creating these components, I do not see you defining any version here. So how do you maintain that?
So there's actually built-in version control. So every time I publish, it actually stays version in the backend. I can log in. We have a backend system called Service Center. Yeah, it says it right down there. And then I can roll back to that version. We also have in the licensed version, you get a dev test in a prod environment, so you can see which version is where. And then when you can release, you can set your versioning and all that kind of stuff too. So you have the ability to link to things via API to kind of store your versions and all that stuff too. So that's all kind of built in. But yeah, it's not like we're just keep building into production or anything like that. There's ways to roll back.
And the beauty of doing this is that if you do a rollback, imagine that you're doing a rollback on an application, and that application in the past had a different data model, right? That is built in. So if you're rolling back for a different data model, you will roll back the platform and you roll back everything to the version that you have in the past, right? So everything is included in this. I think you mentioned as well roles. Did I understand that correct, or are you just talking about versions?
Rules are another thing, like how do you control, like, think about that one application where you have a multiple approval process. You think about that, you have a banking application, somebody applied for the loan, and then it required a number of people to approve, right? So I believe you can have those approval process design here, and then define the different actors who probably have different roles and their privilege based on their access. They can approve certain different, based on the role amount, or depends on your business model.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things in the rule set that are pre-built. So you can have different rules created in your application, right? In development time, you create rules and you change the UI and the logic depending on the rules, even the processes, right? And you have those rules there. You can programmatically check, grant, or revoke the rule. Okay, that's on development time. Then you have when you are managing your factory, right? You can have things more complex, right? I have authentication using AD or any other external thing, but I have groups and I want to assign those. I want to use those groups to assign certain features in my application, right? So in the user management side of the platform, you can create the same groups. You can have a group with a set of rules, and you have groups for approvers, and you have approvers for all your apps. This is just a product catalog app. You might have tens of apps where you have the feature of approval. You create the group approval, you put all the rules for all the applications that they grant, and you have that logic when you authenticate the user to check in which group they are in AD. load those roles.
You said 80.
Yeah.
You have compatible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
LDAP, no.
the platform includes a user management feature built in, and you can authenticate out of the box internally against the user entity inside the platform, or you can authenticate against LDAP, Active Directory, the old Active Directory, or the new Azure AD and all those kind of ADP is some kind of.
The last thing I just did, I was just doing while everybody was talking, so it didn't show. It took me 2 minutes, is I created exposed our product table via API. So all I did was I simply exposed, I created an API call, and then I created an output parameter that takes data from their product table and outputs it. So I just created a simple action that pulls down everything from the product table. Again, one of those data aggregates. So just as a SQL, just gets all the products, assigns it to the output parameter. And then I made that database entity public. And I also made sure you expose it only as read only. You can really, if you want everybody's exposure and change your data, you can go crazy with it. But as you can see now, I can simply come into here. I can view my documentation of my API. You know, I have the example values and everything like that. And then when I test it, I can just go to the URL directly. And obviously this is not very clean, but it just gives you all the data from our product table. So you can use this in any other application, whether it's Outsystems, anything internally that's not Outsystems, and get all the data right from this application. That's it.
Great. I'm going to go back to the presentation just to share the slide.
Yeah.
Question before we jump into the hands-on exercise. So the plan for the next part would be, we have a step-by-step guide for you guys to go and create your mobile application. Okay. Imagine the back office that Mike just created that has like the capabilities to create the products and all of that. And now you'll be using that to build your mobile app where you can have the catalog of applications and so on. Right. So the challenge will be, for the ones remote, I will create a breakout room and Carla will lead you through these steps. For the ones in the room, we have two options. You either do it on your own and you have a hands-on experience, and we have the step-by-step. Using that QR code, you can get to a folder where you have everything, like the Excel files to load the data that you need, the icon, and the presentation with the step-by-step you need. The other option is Ron will be going through the same process, building the same application, and you can check. It's really up to you, depends on what you want to make this next phase. Probably can do a break now, just get some
And the
minutes.
last option is if you just want to hang out, you're allowed to hang out.
Makes sense? So I'm going to open the breakout room.
I'm gonna go ahead.
And
I'll stop sharing so Ron can share.
you can think and you can get courage to join around the end of the the mic for you, Ron.
All right.
It's yours. Guys,
All
for the
right.
ones that are doing the end zone, if you have questions, ping me in mic. Ron will be his own base building. For the ones that are doing, feel free to.
Hello out there?
Just use this.
Hello.
It's here. That's
Never
it.
mind, never mind. Thank you.
Let's go. Who's doing the end zone? Tommy is. You guys are? Okay. You have the presentation, did you understand it well? No, it's on that, Ron, do you have the presentation there?
Yeah, I don't have it up, but I can.
I think we should just pause sharing for a bit. So the presentation is here. Just scan the QR code. Just scan that QR code. You will find. Yes. Are you sitting here walking? What?
Yeah.
Not a QR code. But that means you gotta take a picture of the whole thing. Cool. Are you set up? Yeah? No, you're right. Okay. Ron, go ahead. Share screen again.
All right. Okay, so as everybody starts getting set up, we're gonna get going. So everybody, go ahead and start Surface Studio. And we'll just wait for it to take a few seconds to load. And here we have our desktop. It makes this a little bigger. I'm going to go ahead and create a new application. And I'm going to make this from scratch. This is going to be a phone app. So we'll just go ahead with that. And I can give this whatever name I want. Mike called his product catalog. I'll call it the same. Why not? And we're going to upload the same icon because we like to reuse things. And we're going to create at least the framework for the app. Now for the module, I'm just going to go ahead and create the module, leave the default name. No need to change it at this point. This is just going to be an exercise. And now you see you've got this interface screen. What we're going to do is create some entities to flesh out this thing. So as you can see, if you're following along, but we have tables, well, entities, which are analogous to database tables. And you guys are probably already aware of entity relationship diagrams, of course. So entities and attributes, which are analogous to columns. And what the process we're going to do is we're going to load a table in from Excel, a file in from Excel, and that's going to create an entity within Outsystems. So we're going to start by importing that table. I'm just going to move to this data tab, right click. And let's see. Not responding to the click. And there we go, right click. I'm going to choose an Excel file to import from. And I'm going to choose import. And you see that just like that, we've now got a product table in our database. If I go to the database, you'll see that I've got some tables in our sample database. One thing I'm going to do here is show that it's very easy to rename database objects. I can just go to the name field of the product and just change this to, let's say, store. And this will actually change the name of the table to store product. Now, I'm going to want to show this on a relationship diagram as well. So let's build up the diagram. I've got this eddy diagram screen that I've opened up, and I'm just going to drag and drop the table that I just added. Oops. What I want is to do this, and let's do this instead. And there we have it. You've probably all seen this kind of representation of a table. Right. Table and header and the attributes of the table. We can publish this. You see that it's uploading the code. You see the compilation in a second right down here. You'll see it be deploying. Just a second. And in a second, it'll be done. So now we can actually just open up this browser. Nothing really here yet, but you'll see that you've got a screen here. I can type in my username. If I type in my username correctly, and I'm not going to bother with that. But anyway, it's got some information there that's taken from the table that I've just uploaded. And obviously this isn't nearly complete yet, but nonetheless, we'll go on. So we've seen that we can create a table very easily, create an entity in Outsystems just by essentially bringing in from Excel. There are a number of ways of creating entities. We could have created from scratch if we wanted, but all we did here was just drag and drop, and we were able from there create a mobile app. So we're going to create a screen on our phone for that data that we just put in from that table. And we're going to add a screen here. And we're going to add a screen for a product catalog. We already have a template for a product catalog here. We'll just leave the screen name as a product catalog, and we'll go ahead and create it. So this is the screen template for the phone. And you can see that it's already pre-built with a lot of stuff that we can look at. And one thing you can see is that there are some items in the sample database that have already been created. The UI is a a lot of the stuff is pre-built. So you see the automation that we're concerned about, that we've talked about, pre-created actions, pre-created sample data as well. So let's go to add some more information to the screen. We'll switch over to the data tab. And we're going to put the data from this table that we imported from Excel, and we're going to put it into the gallery area. So now we have a choice of what attributes we're actually going to display on the screen here. And we're just going to put the name and the category of the product into the screen. So the name of the product and the category. Now, we want to include a picture along with this information. So I'm going to grab this image, little widget here, and I'm going to put it inside the box along with it. So now I've got a placeholder for a picture, and I've got to tie the picture, excuse me, I've got to tie this placeholder to the place where the picture is located. And I'm going to do that by changing the type here. I've got the picture stored externally there, and I'm going to select the address of the picture and tie that together. Now, I'm going to have a list, excuse me, a list, excuse me, as well as a gallery. So I'm going to do this again. And in this area, I'm going to do basically the same thing. And so now you see I've got a list of items as well as a gallery of things coming from the same data source. I want to control, excuse me, the type of text associated with the image as well. So I can go ahead and contain this. I just enclose this in a container here. And let's just check to make sure it's in the right place. And there it is in my widget tree. Okay. Image properties. I'm going to go to the container here. Let's see. Back to this. I need to control what's. No, I failed to set up the image here. I want to set this up as well. In my gallery. Let's drop that in. That took. There we go. There we go. And then again, I want to set that to the picture. So now you see I've got my gallery and my listings. Now, I'm going to change the columns, the fittings, and to do that, I'm going to put the text in the column into containers. And I got ahead of myself a little bit there.
you finish the section already? Oh, you're already in section 2.
Oh, it's section 2. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're running out of time, so we'll have to, how much?
I think I've got about 6 more steps.
Okay.
Maybe 7.
Yeah, then
Not a whole
let's
lot.
close the section. Yeah. Let's
Okay.
close section. Guys, just looking at the time, we are going to close this section 2. The slide that you have go all the way to section 4. Section 4 is very more complex. And you will then share the whole detail. You will share 2 apps for you to compare. And you can do it on the questions. Just for the sake of time, we go to finish section 2, and then we do the sorry, go on.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to this gallery listing, and I'm going to change the style of this display. I'm going to set to 4 columns. And I'll set the width to 4 columns there. And I can change the text attributes. And I'm going to also put this into a container so I can, okay, which is true right here. I'm going to do the same thing with the image in the listing here. Let's go to the image. And I'm going to change this style here to 8 columns. Like that. Okay, so on this screen, let's see, elements, and there we go. Thank you. We're going to check the anonymous box. So it can be accessible by any anonymous users.
Yep.
And now we're just going to publish it and then see what it looks like. Open the browser. Oops. Oh, it looks like I failed to tie a couple of things together. Let's see.
Done.
I screwed up somewhere.
Why?
Well, I didn't connect it to the, yeah. I'm not showing the, pictures here.
Ah, I know what it is.
Yeah.
So in the product catalog, in the images you have here, you have to have this. Which screen are you showing there? Ah, stop, brothers. Stop. Aha. What you want is to this top, this was the replace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do this. Oh.
Oh, oh,
Make this one the default. No.
too many screens.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course. That's it. And this one will point to the stop. Blood catalog. We'll fix that in the version that we'll already show you. Now I'll be able to show this. That's it.
There we
Here you
go.
have it.
Thank you much.
Were you able to get here? No?
I went off. We will be sharing the recording, we will be sharing the full presentation, and we will share the final version until section 4 completed for the whole app, so that when you're building, you have something to compare with. If you have any questions, great. Questions before we close?
Do you still have people on real time? Are you wrapping up or? I didn't want to. Yeah. You told me you wanted to kick me out, so. No, but, I knew you had a couple more slides, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Yeah, just wanted to see if there's any questions that you guys have to recap and close. No?
Yeah, I did have a question on the mobile app, generate mobile app. So is there a demo that you have on how simple it is?
How
to register the mobile app and then deploy it on the app?
that specifically part, no, what you have is on the, and then have you search it. We can follow up on that. Yeah, what we have is the process for you to build the app. So the process, the only part that is not included in the process is the actual publishing, right? We can build the app and we can show you how to build. We can distribute as a mobile app and make it then install. We can distribute as a giveaway. Those two options are available. And we can follow up with you with the configurations. They are included on that presentation. Yeah, later on that slide, you'll have a step where you go to the distribution. Building the app or running as a giveaway.
Honestly, it's a 5-minute process. Every time I've ever done it, I always just screw up like 50. It's more like how the Apple keys work. Yeah. You know what I mean? Enterprise. Yeah, you literally just, I mean, you can show you right now. Just go press the button. Whoever showed.
Oh. Yeah, I am sharing.
You have service today.
Okay.
Yeah.
But after you do this one more part, it really just pops out that page. Right, and then you can either manually upload that, yeah, there you go. That's it.
Yeah.
You literally just drop in the Apple keys and you're done. And then press, so one of the cool things about this is you don't need a Mac. Right?
Yeah.
Typically to build a Mac app, you need Mac hardware, or to go spin up Mac Stadium or whatever you're gonna do. Which worst case is not wrong, because it has a Mac. But you get my point, so with this, you literally just press that button on your keys. Yeah, you're gonna have a specific machine just. Yeah. And then, you know, what a lot of people will do is either upload like for an internal app, or they'll put it on your internal MDM or Intune or whatever thing you use to distribute apps. There's a lightweight one built in, right? There's like a little lightweight MDM thing that'll show you where the mobile apps are. That you yeah, that's dumb easy. I just honestly, that's one of the, it's a pretty cool feature.
Cool. Let me just share this for the remote folks. Oh, wrong deck. Yeah, wrong deck. Let's see that. Cool. So just recapping on what could be the next steps and just leaving here some links for you to follow up. So you have the full learning process available online with paths specific for building, becoming a developer, a web developer, becoming a mobile developer, becoming a tech lead, all of those. You have inclusively path for people that are porting from other technology. So I'm a .NET developer. What is the Delta, right? That I need to learn. All of that is available online for free to learn. You have the forums, and our community is very active, and they will reply to anything that you might have. You have the full knowledge base with more heavy stuff that you want to go and read step by step things, and a lot of how-to articles that you can search for. In the end, just giving a link for the Forge, our marketplace, for all those usable components that we have. And just in terms of help that you might need moving forward, you can book some time with us. You can email us. You can book a meeting with us, whatever you prefer, any opportunity that you might have. If you go to our website chat, our team is the one that will be behind the chat replying. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Cool. It's over. Thank you so much.
Your last slide.
Cool. For the ones remote, thank you so much. And we will close the session now.
If everyone can provide their emails, because even though we have them, it's still considered personal property. So if you want to give us your emails, then we can actually reach out to you with any particular questions.
Very important. Otherwise, we won't be able to send you anything. Yeah, if you can drop that just for us to follow up with the presentation, the app fully built and the recording. Cool.
Sales related question, like how do you charge your client based on the transactions, license?
The license has two axes. Maybe Elliot can explain better than me, but it has two axes. So you have the application complexity, you have end users that you have in your application, right? And you play with those two axes. Of course, then there are non-functional requirements like I need 24/7, I need software compliance, I need EPA compliance, whatever, those kind of stuff, right? But the main drivers are application complexity, users, simple. Application complexity is measured by what we call application object, which is a screen, a table, an API method, as simple as that, right?
Unique one.
What?
Unique.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you reuse them, you don't have to.
Exactly. So in the example that we were discussing, you build the back office with the products. If you consume that table, you're not double counting that table, right? So what we see is in terms of consumption of application object is a logarithm, right? In the beginning, you build a lot of stuff because you don't have anything, but then you start reusing, and you adding just the marginal number of application objects over time. Because what you'll be doing is improving the UIs, improving the complexity, the features, the users, and not adding screens and tables and methods and so on and so forth, right? Yeah, that's it. Did I do well?
Did a great job. I would say there's probably a 20-25% usability rate on a, and like a medium complexity application is about 158.
For the ones remote, oh, Mark just shared his email. We already have it. Hamad, we don't have your email. If you can share, I can share mine. Yes, also works. Maybe I'll share yours, Mike, if you don't mind. I don't want to be the bottleneck. So Hamad, I'm going to share Mike's. Okay, we also have Hamad's email here and Mark's. Great. I'm going to share it with you. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to close the session. Thanks. Bye-bye. And